Hi, and welcome to the very first episode of Will This Be in the Test, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the ever-evolving world of education, training and assessment. I'm Oz from Agored Cymru, and I'm thrilled to have you with us as we explore the future of learning and development. Have you ever wondered who decides what goes into the tests you take? Or how qualifications evolve to meet the demands of our rapidly changing world? Whether we're in school, college, university or the workplace, we're all constantly learning, training and striving to improve. In each episode of the podcast, we'll uncover the secrets behind how assessments shape education across the globe. In today's world, new technologies emerge daily and the skills we need are constantly evolving. At Agored Cymru, we're on the lookout for ways to adapt, improve or completely revolutionise the traditional standardised assessment methods being used today. We're hoping to change assessment to better fill critical skills gaps and prepare learners for jobs that don't even exist yet, keeping us one step ahead in a rapidly changing environment. Today, we're starting close to home with a focus on Agored Cymru, a key awarding body that plays a pivotal role in shaping qualifications in Wales and further afield. To help us understand more about the work done here and the broader impact of awarding bodies, we're joined by Darren Howells, the CEO of Agored Cymru. Croeso Darren, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Oz. It's great to be here.
Okay, let's dive in. We're going to start today's episode with a look at some of the news stories in the education world. And we're going to start off with the curriculum review that's going on in England. And they plan to gather feedback from educators, parents and other stakeholders. What do you think about the involvement of so many stakeholders in the process?
Well, Oz, any change and reform is by its nature complex. There will all obviously be potential challenges of integrating feedback from various sources, but getting such feedback is key and important in ensuring a successful outcome. So the importance of involving multiple stakeholders ensures that diverse perspectives are recognised and acted upon. It'll ensure a more inclusive and comprehensive curriculum, and I think that's key, and a curriculum that's fit for purpose, for not just for now but for the future as well. So other educational reviews have had multiple stakeholder engagement. We've seen many examples of those over the years, and this is just another example of where unless stakeholders are engaged, it won't be a success.
Do you think, Darren, if there's too many stakeholders in the process, that it could perhaps lack focus or there isn't a clear enough direction in terms of what they're going to achieve with the new curriculum?
There's always a danger when there are multiple stakeholders in the effectiveness and the direction being eroded and dissolved. I think it's down to the partners who are running the reforms and government to clearly outline what the outcomes of the reform should be and what their objectives and ambitions are. I think the danger would be is not to include enough stakeholders, and I think if we miss anybody out, then that's the danger where it could also fail. So we need to hit the sweet spot in ensuring that the right number of stakeholders are involved.
I suppose one of the main things that came out of the recent Welsh review was an importance of cultural capital, and that learners would be able to see themselves, their background, their experiences reflected in the curriculum. Do you think that's one of the key things behind involving so many?
I think it has to be. Being you could argue, a fragmented nation, the United Kingdom is fragmented with devolved governments and devolved powers as well. And we have a devolved population as well. So we have to ensure that all thoughts and all inputs are recognised, all needs are recognised, the needs of the nation, the needs of employers, the needs of individuals. So I think by its nature, we have to ensure that all those thoughts are recognised and acted upon.
Thanks, Darren. One of the main things that they're going to look at in this, as part of this curriculum review, is assessment methods. And obviously that's something that's very close to the heart of this podcast and something that we're going to have to keep an eye on going forward into the future. In another significant development, a major skills shake-up has been announced in the UK. So Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party and new Prime Minister, has stated that this overhaul is going to provide young people with better opportunities to acquire essential skills for the workforce. How important do you think initiatives like this are for young people in the UK?
I think it's imperative that every young person has opportunity to follow their their ambition and their career paths. It's everybody knows that the UK is undergoing a significant skills gap in key areas, construction, health, just to name but two. So in order to bridge those gaps, the role of vocational training and apprenticeships in particular are key in order to fill that gap. So by focusing on vocational training, employability of young people and the future economic growth of the nation is key. In order to do that, we have to listen to what industry, the various sectors and employers need. We have to understand what they need and ensure that we work together as educational institutions to ensure that those gaps and those needs are met. We see it across the world where, other countries have focused on their skills gaps. They've concentrated on their own population. They have focused on ensuring that from a very young age, young learners are focused on and their career aspirations are identified and met. So, through vocational learning at a younger age, we can ensure that future skills gaps aren't created. But I think we also need to really look to the future, to look at what roles are required, not just today, but in 5-10 years' time. And many of those roles and those jobs don't even exist currently. But I think we should have the crystal ball to understand what could potentially be needed, so we're not in a similar position in the future.
Do you think the government's role is going to be quite important in identifying those skill gaps, but also making sure that there is the training there for those young people? Because at the moment, there might be a need in industry, but is there a demand in the education sector at the moment, or is there the availability or the capacity there?
All those points are very valid. I think capacity and capability are two key things that we have to ensure that we have both. Funding is a key one. We all know that funding and budgets are being cut and certainly being reviewed. Certainly the hold on the level 3 review in England will allow some thinking time to review what is needed. And I think looking at level 2 and level 3 funding is going to be key in that. I think the government will set the agenda. They have to know where the gaps are and they have to fund those gaps accordingly.
Oh, thanks for that, Darren. And for further information on any of the stuff we discussed in this news review, you can check out the full articles on the BBC or on the government's official announcements. We're now going to go to our guest spotlight section, and of course, we all know it's Darren Howells here from Agored Cymru. So, Darren, can you tell us a bit about your background and what your role is at Agored Cymru?
Yeah, of course, Oz. So I joined Agored Cymru July 2019, having worked in the education sector since 2008. And prior to that, I had a 15-year career in various commercial and training roles within the drinks industry. So you could argue that I joined education by accident in many ways. So my primary role as CEO is to set the strategic direction and provide leadership for the business and to ensure its long-term stability and sustainability and to fulfill its legal, statutory and regulatory responsibilities. The new, I suppose, key part now is horizon scanning and is to identify and act upon future changes to ensure that the long-term sustainability of the organisation is maintained.
If we look at Agored Cymru as a business or as an organisation, what is the main mission? What's the primary mission of Agored Cymru?
So our mission as an awarding body and a charity is to enable individuals to achieve the skills and qualifications they need to maximise their potential, enrich their lives and contribute to their communities and strong economy. So in a nutshell, is to support lifelong learning for learners in Wales and beyond, whatever their circumstance, to achieve their ambitions and to support their communities and their families.
So what kind of qualifications does Agored Cymru offer then? Can you give us an overview?
Yeah, we develop vocational qualifications across a wide number of sectors for a very diverse range of centres and learners as well. So we offer qualifications from entry level all the way up to level 7 in areas such as skills for life, digital, health, and we also offer over 30 apprenticeship frameworks in Wales in key areas that support the needs of employers in Wales and beyond. We also ensure all of our qualifications can be delivered, assessed and quality assured in Welsh, thus allowing learners to gain the qualifications in the language of their choice. And I think that's key to meet Welsh Government and Qualification Wales's target for Welsh speakers by 2050.
as a Welsh speaker myself, I find that quite reassuring that I would be able to study a qualification in my first language. So that's something that's really important to me as well, actually. You mentioned before about horizon scanning, and that was like part of one of the main parts of your job. How does Agored Cymru ensure that the qualifications are relevant and up to date with the educational needs and industry standards?
I think simply it's through having proactive, long-standing working relationships. Key stakeholders are key, and they include our centres, national and local government, our regulators, our learners, and even their parents as well, across the whole, educational landscape. So we can ensure that our products and services are fit for purpose for now, they're fit for purpose for the future. And the horizon scanning is looking at new sectors or new initiatives that are being driven by industry or by government to make sure that we can meet the needs and ensure that any skills gaps are filled.
Is that part of the role of awarding bodies in general? Is that something that Agored Cymru specialise in?
The way we do things is quite unique, through our engagement with our centres. I think awarding bodies in Wales or across the nation are a key player, as they're the link between learners and recognition of their achievement. And without awarding bodies, we don't have an education system. But like other awarding bodies, we work very closely with our partners to ensure that our specialisms and our products we produce are fit for purpose. And that is a theme in everything we do. We have to make sure that what we do is fit for purpose, whether it be for Wales in particular or for a wider market.
As part of being fit for purpose, then, I'm assuming that maintaining quality and standards is a very important part of what you do. How do awarding bodies contribute to that?
Well, quality and compliance in general is the main driver for any awarding body. It's something that we will not compromise on. So through monitoring the standards of delivery, assessment and internal quality assurance, we ensure that learners receive the best possible experience whilst they're doing their qualifications, and they have the best possible opportunity to achieve their goals by really focusing on the quality of the content of our qualifications, the way they're delivered and the way they're assessed ensures that the learner gets that best possible experience.
I suppose that's also really important when you're developing qualifications as well. So what kind of process do you go through if you're developing and accrediting qualifications?
Well, qualifications are developed based on a number of different reasons. It can be driven by strategic direction of us as an awarding body, or it could be driven by demand either from our centres, employers, industrial sectors, or wider government initiatives. But any development is a multi-partner activity. So we engage with all relevant parties through stakeholder panels to ensure that all needs are heard and all needs are met through the development of any particular qualification. Only by doing that can we ensure that the end product is relevant and fit for purpose for learners who are going to be sitting these and being taught these qualifications.
Are there any qualifications that are currently offered by Agored Cymru that would be classed as, say, niche? That have been developed because of a need, but there maybe won't be that many people doing them, or how does that kind of work? And is that financially viable?
It's always a delicate balance between the financial viability of developing any product and the demand from a specific area. We develop qualifications in a number of specialist areas, for example, health. So with health, we develop qualifications where we know at the outset that we may only see single figure registrations in any 1 year. And for that, it's important for us that financial reward is almost a byproduct. We develop qualifications for the good of the nation, for the demand of the nation, and for the learners within the nation as well. So financial reward is not the key driver. It is a driver, but not the key one. Any qualification development we enter into, we don't have a prescriptive number of learners which we would expect to see in any period of time, but we would do it based on the demand of the sector or the industry involved.
I suppose that's where the lifelong learning you mentioned earlier on comes into. So is there any qualifications, or how do the qualifications that Agored Cymru provide support that lifelong learning and things like social mobility?
Well, our qualifications are unitised, so they're made up of individual units. This allows learners, whatever their age, ability, or circumstance, it gives them the flexibility to learn at their own pace. So they're able to learn in bite-sized chunks if they want to. They can learn when their circumstances allow. They can hop on and hop off learning. And that feeds into their social mobility and the need for lifelong learning as well. So, some of our learners start learning at a particular time and see that as part of a longer journey, and they're continuing to learn maybe 20 or 30 years later. So being able to promote lifelong learning is key for us.
I can see when you're talking about this stuff, there's an element of pride, in your voice, talking about the kind of stuff that Agored Cymru does. Have you got any examples of how some Agored Cymru qualifications have made a difference in the lives of learners?
Yeah, we've got countless examples of how our qualifications have changed people's lives over the years, and seeing the effect of our qualifications on people's lives is humbling and really generates a significant amount of pride, not just for me, but for everybody in the organisation as well. So we've supported many learners across Wales in achieving their goals, many of which never thought where they've ended up was at all possible. So we've supported those with health issues, personal issues, differing educational careers, a myriad of different circumstances, and to see the joy and the pride on their faces when they've achieved is really the reason we're in this industry in the first place. But the effect on not just the individuals' lives, but their families' lives as well can't be measured. And it's something which is a passion of mine, and something which we will always support as Agored Cymru.
That's great. I'm sure it's not all fun and games in the awarding body industry. So what do you see as some of the current challenges facing awarding bodies and the education sector at the moment?
I suppose it's simple, really, that there is always change. And there are changes currently to national government. There's some uncertainty within Welsh Government with the change of leader. There's qualification reform. There are funding pressures, particularly within schools and with colleges. They all have an effect, either directly or indirectly, with awarding bodies. I think the two current big challenges are, certainly for Agored Cymru, are the growing demand for bilingual qualifications, as we have mentioned, so we can ensure that delivery, assessment and the quality assurance of qualifications can be done in Welsh. But I think the big influence of artificial intelligence is what is on everybody's lips currently. And we have to ensure that artificial intelligence is embraced rather than feared. It's included rather than shied away from. And I think we should use it as a tool for good rather than be scared of it. But it is causing challenges both within us as an organisation and within our centres as well. And it's something we're working very closely with our centres to ensure that there's consistency and standardisation across everything we do.
You mentioned AI there. Obviously, it's a buzzword at the moment and everyone seems to be talking about it. What have Agored Cymru done to kind of get to grips with it? Have they started thinking about qualifications in the field? What kind of things going on?
Qualifications in the field is quite high on the list. We are being approached to develop qualifications in artificial intelligence. We're also looking at how we can use artificial intelligence in the development process as well. But it's all part of the bigger picture around how do we embrace the needs of all learners, whatever their need. And it's making sure that our assessments are modernised. Our assessments are becoming more inclusive and accessible to all learners. And it's making sure that, as well as ensuring our products are available in the language of choice, they're also available in the method of choice as well. And artificial intelligence is a big player in that. So we're looking at it from a product point of view, plus from a service point of view as well.
So you're saying that in the future, Agored Cymru might be offering very different ways of assessment for different groups of people in order to give them the freedom to be assessed in the way that suits them best?
Absolutely. In order to change with the needs of the market and the needs of learners. And learners are very complex, centres are complex, and we have to ensure that our products meet the wider demands of our end users.
How does Agored Cymru then engage with stakeholders, educators, employers and learners to make these decisions and to make sure that they're meeting the needs?
I suppose it goes back to the horizon scanning, is to have the ability to look to see exactly what's out there, what is needed both today and in the future, and to engage with stakeholders such as our centres, such as government, such as employers, our regulators, to make sure that what we produce is fit for purpose. There's nothing more frustrating than creating a product that doesn't have an end user. And that's very wasteful in terms of time and money. So by ensuring that all the relevant parties are around the same table at the right time makes the ability to develop and review and improve our qualifications that much more easy.
Have you got any future plans or upcoming initiatives for Agored Cymru looking forward? You've mentioned AI and the way you're moving forward and exploring that. Have you got anything else on the horizon, as you just mentioned?
Well, I think it's maybe a surprise to a lot of people, but education is a very fast-paced environment and changes and reforms are continuous. So yes, horizon scanning is essential, and that sort of endorses our evolution. So some of our plans are driven by external factors, but others are planned to ensure our future strategy is relevant and appropriate. So we're working on a number of new initiatives to enhance our current product portfolio. Some of these initiatives are linked to job roles, and some of those roles may not even exist at this moment in time. But certainly the growth in technology is driving change. And at the forefront of that change, in both Agored Cymru and the wider awarding sector, are the need to digitise our offer. So we are widening our digital offer to support our staff, our centres and their learners, with specific emphasis on modernising assessments, including the use of AI and virtual reality. We're exploring digital credentials for our qualifications, and we're about to launch a new electronic certificate platform as well. So these are all things that ensure that we are at the forefront of the fast-paced environment within which we work.
Digital credential sounds really interesting. I'm sure we'll have time to catch up on that in the future. We've got a few guests, I'm sure, that will like to talk about that in upcoming episodes. So finally, Darren, what motivates you and inspires you personally in your work?
Well, I do genuinely love what I do. My motivation is to ensure that Agored Cymru continually evolves and all the staff have the opportunity to develop their careers in whatever direction they wish to take. The ability to support our learners is a key driver as well, as has been mentioned, and seeing the difference we make to learners is motivation enough. But being the best organisation we can be and evolving in the right way and supporting the needs of Wales as a country or any other market within which we work is the key motivation for me. But I'd just like to see people and organisations succeed in the future.
Thank you very much, Darren. Is there anything else that you'd like our listeners to hear, or any way that they can get in touch with you if they want to know more about Agored Cymru or the things that we got to offer?
Well, either visit our website or follow us on our social media platforms, LinkedIn, X and Facebook, or I'm more than happy if you want to telephone or email me directly, and I'm more than happy to have a discussion with you.
Well, thanks very much, Darren. It's been a great conversation, and look forward to speaking to you again in the future. Now we're introducing a new segment called Hands Up, and this is where we'll be answering your questions about all things education, learning and training. So in each episode, we'll take a few minutes to address the questions you've sent in, and this is your chance to ask us anything you're curious about, whether it's about current educational practices, future trends like the impact of AI on learning, government policies, or even something as specific as school holidays or apprenticeship spaces in the UK. We want to hear from you. How can you get involved? Well, that's simple. Just send in your questions to our email, willthisbeinthetest@agored.cymru. Or reach out to us on social media with the hashtag #WillThisBeInTheTest, and we'll select a few questions to feature in our upcoming episodes. Don't worry if you can't get your question right away. We'll be keeping a list, trying to answer as many as we can over the course of the series. Every question is important, and we'll make sure to cover a variety of topics that are relevant to everyone. Okay, as we wrap up today's episode, we want to let you know about some exciting features coming up in future episodes. We'll be introducing several new segments, including Learner Voice, where we hear directly from students about their experiences with our qualifications and programmes, as well as some top tips from our guest in Think, Pair, Share. But for now, on the end of episode 1, let's focus on your homework. And this week's homework is to check out a fantastic book, Start With Why, by Simon Sinek. It's an oldie, but a goodie. And for a lot of you out there, you'll already have read this and it may still be on your bookshelf. The book focuses on case studies to show the importance of starting with why instead of what. For example, Sinek talks about how Apple thrives by starting with their why, challenging the status quo and thinking differently. And this approach allowed them to innovate and lead in multiple markets. Have you read it yet, Darren?
I certainly have, Oz. Understanding the why behind our thoughts, actions, and perceptions is crucial for our evolution, and it helps us stay aligned with our core purpose and makes our efforts more impactful. When Apple did introduce the iPod, they didn't focus on making a simple MP3 player. They focused on giving people 1,000 songs in their pocket, and that is what was revolutionary about their thinking and about what they thought about music and convenience.
Joe, I can still remember the poster actually on the wall of our lab in uni of the 1,000 songs in your pocket. And the whole point was, of course, they were selling an idea. And if we sort of apply this to our field here, we need to ask ourselves, why are we trying to modernize assessment? Are we just trying to utilize technology we have? Are we going to be like these companies just sticking AI on the end of their products? Or are we actually trying to provide a better service or a better solution to assessment and to the education of our, I suppose, customers? But of course, for us, it's just the future of our economy, isn't it? Our learners. So we're looking to improve the learning process, and that would be our why.
So the world of qualifications and awarding is quite simple. We're selling people's hopes and dreams in many ways, and ambition. So if we start with the why, we can help frame our goals and strategies in a way that is meaningful, engaging, both for us and for our customers. If our why is to improve the learning process, then we might focus on how technology can provide more personal and effective feedback to learners rather than just giving them a final mark at the end of the process.
I think that's really important. And I think that formative versus summative assessment has been a buzzword in education for years, but it hasn't really been as important when it comes to that assessment at the end of a qualification. And that's perhaps something that we might be able to utilize technology in order to provide people with. So that's great. Simon Sinek has his insights can help us rethink our approach to education and assessment. So I recommend, if you haven't read it yet, that you pick it up. And if you have read it, why not give it another go? You can also hear Simon talking about his ideas and the other books that he's written as well on any platform that provides you with any sort of podcasts. We hope you've really enjoyed this episode of Will This Be in the Test? If you did, please like and subscribe and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues. Your support helps us reach more listeners and keep the conversation going. Don't forget to send in your questions for our new Hands Up segment, and you can email us at willthisbeinthetest@agored.cymru or reach out to us on social media, Will This Be in the Test, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks to our guest Darren for joining us today and sharing his insights, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Oz from Agored Cymru, and this is Darren.
Thanks, Oz. My pleasure.
And this is Will This Be in the Test?